That's a lot of trash. Plastic. The most recent president tried to enact some legislation about it. Plastic. Our current president said, "Back to plastic." So where are we at with all this stuff these days? I'm talking specifically today about single-use plastics. There are two camps in this discussion: the camp that wants to ban them, and the camp that wants single-use plastics to stay unbanned. Although important distinction, they aren't exactly pro-plastic, they just don't want the ban on single-use plastics. Let's go over the arguments of the two different camps and see what both sides are saying. Starting with the side that wants to ban plastic. They don't want it. Argument number one. Single-use plastic bans combat destructive convenience culture. Our brains use habits to try to save energy. That means that making small changes to your routine, like carrying your own straw, is going to be difficult without some motivating juice. This woman is a climate psychology expert. Her name is Leslie Davenport. She says that bans on single-use plastics disrupt the part of your brain that is conveniently cycling and forces you to make better choices about your plastic use. The thing about these single-use items is that they are designed to be thrown away. How does that affect your brain when the things you are using are specifically designed to be cast out? And this is Megan Weldon. Her thought is that the culture of convenience only teaches that items don't have inherent value. Why take care of things when they are just going to be thrown away? This kind of thinking is what leads to literal mountains in the landfills. Changing the way we think will change how reliant we've become on single-use plastics. Plus, there are already plenty of reusable alternatives. Cotton bags, metal straws, glass containers. These reusables offer stuff that single-use items can't. Better performance, lower long-term costs, reduced resource use, and they aren't likely to put you in the grave early. Argument number two. Single-use plastic bans work and generate greater awareness about the dangers of all plastics. A 2024 study found that plastic bans in a handful of major areas cut around 6 billion bags a year. That's literally enough to wrap around the earth dozens of times. The researchers say similar rules elsewhere could save roughly 300 bags per person each year. Farron Savitz works at the Penn Environment Research and Policy Center. He says the bottom line is that plastic bag bans work. Millions have realized that it's easy to live without plastic bags and get used to bringing a bag from home, or even skipping a bag when they can. Plastic bag bans have been successful, so other bans on single-use items should be similarly successful. This journalist, Harvin Bethal, talks about how successful bans on plastic straws have been. For consumers, the absence of plastic straws has become normal, mundane even. New research shows that we're all carrying around more plastic in our bodies than anyone is comfortable with. Research tells us it's about 7 micrograms of plastic found in the human brain. Early signs link higher microplastic levels to dementia and also greater risks of heart attack and stroke. Supporters of the ban say that this isn't a magic fix. It's just a solid first step towards cutting future waste. Argument number 3. Bans are required because plastic recycling is a myth. Greenpeace says that only around 5 to 6% of US plastic actually gets recycled and turned into new products. Also, according to a 2022 survey of recycling facilities, none of the single-use plastic items from fast food restaurants can legally be called recyclables in the US. Plastic recycling has been called a fraud because most plastics aren't one clean material, but a jumble of polymers and additives that can't be separated. Since they can't be processed together, the vast majority just ends up in a landfill or out in the environment. The general manager of Southern Oregon Sanitation says, "It's easier to just say we're going to take everything and we think it can get recycled, and then look the other way while all of the plastic just goes to the landfill. That's greenwashing." Climate psychology educators explain that consumers buy into greenwashing unconsciously. It makes people feel like they are contributing to a cause in some way. More and more, it's looking like pretty much all of the claims that have been made about how recyclable some things are just straight up false. It's time to ditch single-use plastic items altogether and move towards reuse, refill, and package-free options. Now that we've covered the ban it side of the argument, let's go over the don't ban side. They don't want it. Argument number 1. Single-use plastic bans spawn complacency. The greater need is a reduction in all plastic. The real problem isn't people using single-use plastics. It's that we are making way too much plastic overall. Bans on straws and bags just distract from the bigger issue. Even with all the consumer side fixes like bans and recycling, we'd still dump over 17 million tons of plastic into nature each year. The only real solution is capping how much plastic gets made in the first place. This would also cut the 4.5% of global emissions that comes from plastic production. Plastic production will create more emissions than coal by the year 2030, and focusing on banning single-use items is a band-aid fix. We need to stop making so many different types of plastics and be trying to narrow it down to 10 to 20 polymer types that can actually be recycled. Now that we're finding plastic in our brains as well, the whole plastic-human relationship really needs to be rethought. It's not enough to make ourselves feel good by banning straws. The US alone dumps 42 million metric tons of plastic each year. If you want to be effective in this fight, force companies to use already recycled plastic to make their products. This would be significantly more effective than just banning a couple small single-use items. Argument number 2. Single-use plastics are sanitary, convenient, efficient, and used in important ways. Let's be real. Single-use plastics help a ton in making things easier for people. They go well beyond simple convenience. People with disabilities often depend on single-use plastics because they can't physically manage the alternatives. Why use plastic for food, you ask? Simple. It keeps things fresh for way longer. Studies show that foods like cucumbers, banana, beef all last significantly longer when wrapped in plastic. This leads to less waste, which leads to healthier foods being accessible for longer. Produce has to travel a long ways to get to the store. Packaging it in plastic means less weight the trucks have to carry, which leads to lighter loads and reduced emissions. Single-use plastics are also essential in healthcare. Masks, gowns, syringes, blood bags, these all keep patients and providers safe through sterility. We would need workable, safe alternatives first before banning the plastic versions. Argument number 3. Bans wrongly punish consumers, whereas producers and recyclers are the problem. We've been told our plastic gets recycled if we just follow the rules. But that's false. Why blame consumers when it's actually the plastic and recycling industries that need to deliver on what they've promised? A journalist for the BBC points out that plastic is incredibly cheap for how useful it is, which is exactly why we treat it like trash. Instead of ditching it completely, we should figure out how to actually use and then reuse it properly. The good news is that recycling industries now have a sustainable polymer engineering field, which is good because 94% of the people are already on board to recycle. Sustainable polymer engineering is basically just using AI to sort things, help make things biodegradable, and find chemicals that will break plastics down so they can actually be reused. Researchers are working on breaking plastic back down to its basic components so different types can be separated. Over at Carnegie Mellon, Michael Boxstaller is looking into polymers that can heal themselves. This would reduce how much plastic gets thrown out when it breaks. Scientists are ready to create plastics that last longer and recycle more easily. We've got the tech. We just need to use it. Well, there you have it. Some different perspectives to chew on. If you yourself have an opinion you'd like to share, I personally don't really care to hear it, but other people might, so go ahead and type them out in the comments. If you've already subscribed, you are a happy piece of plastic in the great Garbage Patch community. If not, you are a sad piece of plastic that will sit alone in someone's attic for the next 40 years. As always, keep your towel close at all times, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.